Order. Do we have any citizens or public comments? Here's not. Welcome, everybody. Consideration or approval of the agenda.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager. Friesman.
Aye.
Hannan.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye. Agenda is approved as submitted. Consideration or approval of the minutes of the September 13 and September 18 meetings. Any questions or discussion? So moved.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hannan.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
The minutes of the September 13 and September 18 meetings are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Any questions and comments regarding the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hannan.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
The consent calendar is approved as submitted. Business of the mayor. We have several proclamations. Do we have people here who wish to speak in support of their proclamation? Would you step to the microphone and identify yourself?
Good evening. My name is Julie DeBauer. I am president of Phi Chapter of Alpha Delta Kappa in Charles City, and I am joined tonight by Jan Mulford. Alpha Delta Kappa is an international honorary organization of women educators dedicated to educational excellence, altruism, and world understanding. Our current chapter has 36 members that are practicing teachers or retired from the teaching profession, 2 members with limited membership, and 1 member that belongs to the international chapter of ADK serving on a board. Our chapter not only has monthly chapter meetings, but also meets with other members within our district, state, and international organization. We will be supporting our community during the Spook Walk this year once again and assisting projects for teachers if needed. We also gave 2 $500 scholarships to CCHS seniors last year. One of our last altruistic projects we recently completed was to make pillowcases for victims of the hurricane in Texas, and we are working on a project for Florida hurricane victims as well. We support world understanding by the speakers that we have come to our chapter to learn about another culture, assisting with scholarships to international women studying to further their education, and raising money for 6 additional classrooms for a school in Haiti, which one of our members proposed and wrote the grant with a Charles City community member, among other projects. Our chapter is fortunate to have several state, regional, and international officers and board members. We strongly believe in education and assisting our community, state, country, and world. We would like to thank you for recognizing Alpha Delta Kappa Month so we can help support our students, teachers, administrators during this month in our community.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. And we have another request. You step forward.
I'm Emily Probst, and I'm the domestic abuse advocate for Floyd, Mitchell, and Worth counties. I have an office over on Main Street in Charles City. We've been here in town since maybe 2000, maybe before that, but we have served this area since 1977. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we like to come and do the proclamations for that. And kind of in the area this year, we have for activities, we have library displays with our information and kind of facts and my card and whatnot at my libraries in Charles City, Osage, and Northwood. The Osage paper is running a weekly story with information about domestic violence. The final story will be in the Osage paper and the Globe Gazette, and it will be an anonymous story of a survivor of domestic violence, and that person is actually from Charles City. We also have the 31 Days of Purple campaign, where people can wear purple and post to our Facebook page. And we have a group of nurses doing their preceptor project this year. And they are doing a project in Mason City and Charles City called the Purple Pumpkin Project. And so they've painted little gourds that look like pumpkins and hidden them around for people to find, and then they can take their picture and post it to our project event page, and then we'll have weekly drawings for local prizes. So that's kind of what we're doing this year.
Any questions?
I would just like to thank you for everything you do, because that's a tremendous value to the community.
And we do continue to see a rise in numbers in the area. I have a rise in all 3 of my counties, and people see that, or they see more newspaper stories about certain things, and they think, oh my gosh, what's happening? These things just keep happening more and more. And the truth is, there's really nothing more happening than had happened before. What's happening is victims are coming forward, and they're seeking services, and arrests are being made. So an increase in numbers is actually a good thing, not a bad thing. So, and I believe, I don't have a copy of the proclamation, but I think the numbers for Floyd County this year were 391 people served in the last fiscal year. So, right.
So just a little over 1 a day.
Yeah.
That's something to be taken care of, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. So, thank you.
Move for both proclamations.
I'd second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Okay, the proclamations are approved. I'll come down and read them.
Thank you, Walls.
I'll try not to.
What, John, just got a touch of flu or something?
Yeah, sore throat, cough. Yeah, I think he has what I had. Mine went into my ear, though.
Well, we'll start with whereas women in education constitute a great portion of the nation's working force and are constantly striving to serve their communities and nations in educational, civic, cultural, and peace among all people. And whereas major goals of Alpha Delta Kappa International Honorary Society for Women Educators are to give recognition to outstanding women educators, to build a fraternal fellowship among educators, adding to their effectiveness in the promoting of excellence in education, to promote high standards in education, and to assist in strengthening the status and advancement of the teaching profession, to promote educational and charitable projects and activities, to sponsor scholarships, and to cooperate with worthy community programs related to education and charities. And lastly, to contribute to world understanding, goodwill, and peace through an international fellowship of women educators united in the ideals of education. Now therefore, I, James A. Erb, Mayor of Charles City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as International Alpha Delta Kappa Month in Charles City, and to urge all citizens to honor women in education and to recognize their great contributions toward the profession of teaching. Signed by myself. You obviously have a long tradition and have upheld it very, very well. Thank you. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security, And for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many community members, these blessings are tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas domestic violence is more than an occasional family dispute, it is a serious crime that affects people of all races, ethnicities, ages, mental or physical abilities, socioeconomic status, religious backgrounds, and genders. And whereas children who grow up in violent homes are abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average, and more than 4 million children in the United States are at risk for witnessing domestic violence each year. And whereas domestic violence costs the nation over $5 billion annually in medical expenses, law enforcement and court costs, shelters and foster care, sick leave, absenteeism, and reduced worker productivity. And whereas only a coordinated community effort will bring an end to this epidemic of crime and violence, and we as a community must address the problem of domestic violence in our homes and neighborhoods every day of the year. And whereas a coalition of organizations has emerged to directly confront this crisis, law enforcement officials, victim service programs, healthcare providers, the faith community, and others concerned citizens are helping in the effort to end domestic violence. We must recognize the compassion and dedication of these volunteers and professionals, applaud their efforts, and increase public understanding of this important social problem. Now, therefore, I, James A. Erb, Mayor of Charles City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens in Charles City to observe this month by becoming aware of the tragedy of domestic violence, supporting those who are working toward its end, and participating in community efforts. I think we're all very concerned about the rise of violence in our society, and in particular this type of violence. So thank you very much for all you're doing to try to help us with it. For the remainder of the business of the mayor, we were down at the conference for the Iowa League of Cities, and a lot of conversation and topic was dedicated to the subject of the backfill issue that's upcoming for the all cities in the upcoming year, with the legislature contemplating cutting back on that backfill process. You probably saw in the Des Moines Register, there was an article written which basically said that everything is going very well for Des Moines communities without the backfill. And the author didn't really address the rest of the state and the rural areas in particular, and the impact it might have there. So I assume that we're going to have this as an ongoing conversation as we go forward. Next up, request for use of city property and street closures for Spook Walk, October 26, rain date of October 30. Discussion.
Nobody from the chamber was able to be here tonight, and I was just looking through my packet, and I don't have the summary on this. Was it in the agenda packet online, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I must
Yeah.
not have just gotten it into my packet, so at least you have the information.
22nd year of it. Looks like they're planning on doing the same thing as
Yeah.
far as the area.
Yep. everything's
Riverfront
the
Park and street closings from 1 to 8 on October 26th. St. Mary's Street from Clark to Riverside, and Riverside Drive from St. Mary's to Leland.
same.
Kind of same thing they've closed in the past, I
Yep.
believe.
Mark said nothing has changed, everything's the same, and then they have a rain date of October 30th if the 26th gets rained out, so thank you, Delene.
So, I think it's a great deal.
It is, it's very well attended. What
Usually
did they
have-
say, 1,500 kids, is that what I think in the past?
Well, it's a nice, safe,
Yeah.
controlled environment.
Yep.
And it's, I mean, particularly that emphasis on safe, controlled environment. Trick or treat is a great, which, by the way, will emphasize is going to be on the 31st this year. That's a great tradition as well. It does require some monitoring by parents or adults to keep the kids safe from in that particular endeavor. Any further discussion on this item?
I'd so move for this
Approval.
request.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Okay, the request is approved. Consideration of a second reading of ordinance 1110, amending section 41.14, fireworks to amend and delete certain provisions concerning the sale, transfer, and purchase of consumer fireworks. Discussion.
Basically, this is an update to our previously approved ordinance on the fireworks, but it just pertains specifically to the ability of the city to permit or require a permit of anybody that's looking to sell fireworks. It was recently challenged here a few months ago, I think in the city of Des Moines, where the state deemed it was, or the courts deemed that since the state was already issuing a permit, that the city couldn't also issue and require a permit. So we're adopting our code to accept that change. And this is the second reading of that. I haven't heard any comments or thoughts from anybody on this.
Any questions?
I'd so move for the second reading.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Okay, the second reading is approved, and we'll have the second reading.
Ordinance number 1110, an ordinance amending section 41.14 fireworks to amend and delete certain provisions concerning the sale, transfer, and purchase of consumer fireworks.
Thank you. Consideration of the first reading of ordinance 1111, chronic nuisance. Discussion.
Yeah, this is the repeat or chronic nuisance ordinance that we've been working on for the last few months here. Basically, in a way to be able to really design it and put a process in place that helps the city abate unlawful acts, that occur repeatedly, where law enforcement is called into a situation at a residence. And so, this really helps. What we hope that this will do is help create that communication link between the city and the property owner to help eliminate issues and from issues occurring repeatedly in the future. So we've had a lot of discussion on this. We talked about a chronic nuisance property would be any type of property that would have 3 or more nuisance activities within a 12-month period. We've defined the unit as far as how that goes, whether it be a single-family home, whether it be a specific unit within a duplex or a living space within a multi-unit facility, including parking lots, looking at those being units, or common spaces being units. So I think for the most part we've really worked this over pretty well and have had good discussion, and I think it's ready for its first reading, first approval.
Questions or discussion?
Like Brad and Steve and Ralph, there've been a lot of, and the chief, I think, have put a lot of time and reviewing other documents from other communities and trying to kind of formulate something that will be a good, at least initial stab at this for us as far as modifying it. I thank them for their time, and I guess I would so move.
I would second.
The only thing I would add is that I think our citizens really want us to be doing something proactive as opposed to solely reactive to events as they hit us in the face, so to speak. And this is what this particular ordinance is designed to do, is to get ahead of some of these chronic situations. So, with that, the clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero. Star.
Aye.
Okay, the first reading of ordinance 1111 is approved, and we'll have the first reading.
Ordinance number 1111, and ordinance adopting new Chapter 52 of the Charles City Code of Ordinances, providing for procedures for abating and remedying unlawful activities that repeatedly occur at a property.
Thank you. Consideration of a motion to transfer ownership of K-9 dog Midnight to his handler, Zach Eckenrod. Discussion.
Yeah, as we talked about at our workshop, our K-9 unit officer dog named Midnight is ready to retire due to age, and dog's current handler is Officer Zach Eckenrod. And what we'd like to do is as Midnight moves into retirement, we would like to transfer ownership to Zach of Midnight. And Zach is willing to do so. He wants to take over the ownership of Midnight, and so we recommend we do that for a nominal fee of $1.
Have we asked Midnight? Does he want to come live with you? Yes.
Well, this is a pretty common thing, too. In fact, I was talking about at the planning session, there was a story recently on the news, I believe in southern Minnesota, where the same thing occurred. It's one thing to separate partners. You have that relationship torn, but this is more than just partners. This is a family. This is just the right call.
Well, I'm sure that Zach has done more and had some of his own money come out of his own pocket to do things besides for this whole deal. So I think this is very appropriate. I'd so move.
Second.
I would second that, but I would also throw in the dollar plus whatever else that'll take to buy dog food for him. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Easiest vote I ever took, aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye. Motion,
Throw the rest of that, Mike, here.
the motion passes, and
Close enough.
Thank
the
you.
request will be granted.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Zach.
Zach, for taking care of Midnight.
Yes.
He's a
thank you.
fun dog.
Consideration of Resolution 87-17, approving engineering services agreement with Fox Engineering for wastewater treatment plant project. Discussion.
Yeah, enclosed is the final version of the task order that we've been looking at with Fox Engineering to provide services on the wastewater treatment plant construction. Part of the final things that we were since our last council workshop when we talked about this, we were looking at the idea of ways to save on some of the costs, and one of those was through the residential inspection service. And basically where you have somebody on site looking things over and making sure it's all getting done according to plan. We thought that we could hire somebody locally like we've done in the past, as with the UV disinfection, to kind of oversee that and review things. And I think we'll still do that to a certain degree, but for the most part, we're gonna ask that Fox provide somebody to do that work, just because when this project gets really intense and is really moving along, it's gonna take somebody there on a full-time basis, making sure everything is done properly. So with that in mind, and with this being such a big critical project, we decided to leave that portion of it in for the vast majority. There might be some work that we can have done by a local person once things kind of maybe slow down a little bit. And so the total task order lump sum of $1,597,500, maybe a little bit less than that. That's the number we talked about during the workshop. That's the same number that's in the task order that's provided here tonight. But some of that might be reduced by having somebody local on site do some of the review work. But for the most part, it'll be done by Fox. Additionally, we had some questions on how construction staking would take place and whether that would be the contractor's responsibility, Fox's responsibility. And so that's all something that we're going to work out as we bid out the project. And ultimately, it's going to be the contractor's responsibility. It's just construction staking is such a critical piece. You know, when you get those measurements of heights and where things start and go, you build off all of that. So we've asked that when the contractor hires somebody, that they hire somebody that's either a qualified engineer or qualified surveyor to do that work. So those are just some of the nuances that we were looking at. But for the most part, the task order is the same as what we talked about at the workshop here a couple weeks ago. And so I recommend that we approve the task order for a lump sum bid of $1,597,500 to Fox Engineering.
Discussion.
We also talked about this at the workshop that, I mean, Fox has been in this project from the very beginning, so to try and like change horses in the middle of the stream here with a different company would not make a whole lot of sense at this point. It makes more sense to have them continue on and provide this type of service for this project.
Yeah, it really does. You know, they have a long-standing history of working with us on the water end, the wastewater end, and they're one of the leaders in the field in the state of Iowa. So they're a good firm.
Other questions or discussion?
I'd so move.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Valero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 87-17 is approved. And we'll go forth with the engineering services agreement with Fox. Consideration of Resolution 100-17 approving purchase of truck for Housing Department. Discussion.
Yeah, and Heidi couldn't be here tonight, so I told her we could probably handle these requests to the council here. We talked about this pretty extensively during the workshops. The Housing Department has budgeted funds to purchase a pickup truck, basically to sell the SUV Nitro that they have over there that's underutilized. That would give them 2 pickup trucks to be able to better do their work. Since that time, you know, Heidi and I have talked about the Nitro, and you know, the city has interest in acquiring that piece of equipment, that SUV from her to use to replace our city engineer's vehicle. Actually, is where we're planning on using that. And she mentioned the price of $8,000. I Kelly Blue booked it, and low end it was private party was 10 grand. So, you know, 8,000 is probably pretty fair amount, and I told Heidi we would be interested in doing that. So, as a side note, that's probably how we'll be looking to move forward on getting rid of the Nitro. But as far as action tonight, we want to move forward with considering the request to purchase the F-250 3/4 ton 2017 pickup truck for the Housing Department at a price of $27,628, which is the state bid from Stevers in Des Moines.
Questions?
So move.
I noticed that there was the price for the truck in there, but they also talked about buying another blade for it, and there was nothing in there about the price of the blade or anything. Is that something that needs to be added in there, or? I was thinking the other night Heidi was talking about $3,500 to $4,000 for a blade.
She did, but I never heard where they were going to get that from. I don't think.
Yeah, I think we'll be looking at that, I guess, separately, because they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They're not going to be getting that from the state bid.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was supposed to be covered all in the same.
We'll have to do that at a separate time.
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew we talked about it, so.
Yep, that's true.
I'd second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 100-17 is approved as requested. Consideration of Resolution 101-17 approving contract for asbestos abatement for housing. Discussion.
Yeah, Housing Department, they've also been doing, some testing of some of the old tile and mastic tape that they find on their 3 sites, and they have found that some of those areas do contain asbestos, and so whether it be at South Cedar Terrace or North Cedar Terrace, and or at Morningside they've found nothing additional that has asbestos. But as they come across these situations where they have asbestos, they wanted to be able to remediate the problem, and they looked at doing it internally, training staff to do it that way, but in the end it appeared to be more cost effective to contract with a firm to come in and do it as needed. And so they sent out RFPs. I think they did 7. They got 4 responses, and as it turns out, the one that is quoting the lowest price is also quoting the fastest response time. So we're recommending that we approve the agreement with Abestrol Incorporated out of Austin, Minnesota, for a tile replacement cost of $3.25 per square foot and $5.49 per square foot of mastic tape. And they also include a response time of 5 days. So it'd be a proposal with Asbestrol.
Discussion or questions?
Did she get any kind of information, because it's talking about being a 2-year contract with them, as far as if they were going to live with that price for the 2 years? I know we talked about it at the workshop.
My understanding would be that price would be good for the 2 years.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything that would say otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember part of the conversation is he had kind of broken off that too, saying that that there would be the potential for them to raise at a regular amount, but I'm not seeing that really worded here. So.
Further questions or discussion?
I would so move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 101-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 102-17 approving addition of SNAP Fitness membership reimbursement to employee handbook. Discussion.
Yeah, our city handbook allows city employees to receive a partial reimbursement for participating with memberships to local gyms. And so with SNAP Fitness coming on board, we'd like to add them into our employee handbook so that employees would have the option of getting reimbursed from the SNAP Fitness location as well.
I missed that discussion meeting, but what's the partial membership, 50% or?
50% of a single.
At the
50% of a
Y.
single?
At the Y. It's all based on the Y.
At the
That's
Y.
the maximum amount, yeah.
So that's what we're looking at here, 50% of Snap-on, or Snap.
Snap, correct, yeah.
Oh.
We just need to add them on to
Okay.
be able to be reimbursed
Yeah,
at
we've
that
got the
rate.
Y, we've got Health Quest and
Okay.
Curves. Well, we had Curves.
Yours is gone.
Yeah, correct.
That's a great deal. I'd so move.
I'd second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Resolution 102-17 is approved.
I'd just ask one quick question. Do we have a lot of employees that participate in that option?
That's a good question. I don't know what our census number is on
We're
that.
having more, as I think a lot of the new police officers
Hey.
that come on really take
Good.
advantage of it.
Could you just let us know
I
sometime
will,
what
yeah,
the
because I'm not sure right off.
general employee populace is doing?
You betcha.
Hopefully a lot of people are taking advantage of it.
Do too.
Consideration of Resolution 103-17 approving sponsorship of Cambrex application for high-quality jobs grant program. Discussion.
Yeah. Historically, the city has been the sponsoring entity when it comes to local business that's applying through the Iowa Economic Development Authority. In this case, the High Quality Jobs Program with Cambrix's expansion and investment and the wages they're looking to pay, that qualifies them for the High Quality Job Program. And so this is the application that goes into the state, shows that our city's support, and ultimately what we're approving tonight is just the application that goes into the state. But in a couple weeks we'll be looking at the other portions of the package that come into play, which is the tax rebate that we're looking at and a forgivable loan based on the new jobs being added. So tonight we're looking to pass a resolution that would approve the application into IEDA.
Questions or discussion? This is obviously a very high profile and the kind of project that most communities desperately want to have happen for their community. So this is a big step forward for our economic development efforts.
It's great that we have companies that are willing to invest money in our local economy and our local business.
I so move, Your Honor.
I'd second it.
Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Resolution 103-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 104-17, approving temporary easements for 2017 ADA pedestrian ramp sidewalk project. Discussion.
Yeah, and basically what this first resolution is to allow the easements to, as we put in the ADA approved slopes for the intersections, this is what allows us to adjust the height and smooth everything off up into the adjacent property. So once the projects are done and everything is regraded, then these easements will expire. But this year we're looking to do 5 additional curb ramp locations, which we'll get into in the next agenda.
Questions or discussion?
Is that usually a fairly smooth process, working with the adjoining landowners?
This will be, what, the 3rd year I think we've been doing it, and I think it has been a fairly smooth
I
process.
mean, I would assume most people understand the reason for it and are pretty willing to accept.
Yeah, and just a little history. The reason this ADA transition plan is something it's mandated by the Department of Justice, through the federal government, and so they want communities to work towards having handicap accessible intersections, and so part of our plan just includes each year trying to address different areas, trying to rank the highest need areas first, and eliminate those curb bumps with detectable strips and approachable landings as you come up to intersections.
Are we going to use something different for the approachable strips than those orange things that have
No.
been there? Because those things don't seem to last too well.
They that's part of the requirements that you have those. I mean, they're called detectable strips,
Oh.
and so somebody that is either blind can detect those as they're approaching it, so they know and they can sense those. So for the most part, they'll probably remain similar, although
Right.
depending on how they're done, some last better than others. I think that's maybe the more
Okay.
appropriate or accurate, I guess. Because I've seen some of those that weather away pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a salt coming off the street or what, but man, some of them just look pretty chewed up pretty quickly. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe there was some new technology out that there'd be something better than those. So
If there is, I'm not aware of it, but that
Okay.
very well could be.
I'd still move in any event. Thank you.
Second.
Further questions or discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 104-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 105-17, approving contract and bond for 2017 ADA pedestrian ramp sidewalk project. Discussion.
Yeah, and so these are the contract and bond for Knowles Custom Concrete to do the ADA pedestrian ramp sidewalk project. Competitive quotes received last week, and Knowles Custom Concrete from Orchard submitted the lowest quote in the amount of $34,396. Of the 5 quotes that we received, they range from that $34,396 to as high as $61,524. So the 5 locations we're going to be looking at addressing are going to be the northwest corner of Blunt and North Johnson, the northwest corner of Blunt and Joslin, the southwest corner of Gilbert and South Jackson, and the northeast corner of 3rd Street and South Jackson, as well as the northwest corner of the city-owned parking lot between Wisconsin Street and the 200 block of North Main Street. The completion project on this is May 25th, so they've got until next spring to get it completed, and we recommend approval of the contract and bond for this project.
Further questions or discussion?
Was there anything specifically that flagged these locations to be selected, or was it just, was there work being done already in that area?
No, I think, John could speak to this better than I could, but I believe these areas were areas that are either, high traffic or in poor condition, or maybe a little bit of both. One of them happened to be an area that was going to be worked on adjacent to that, so I think we added it in as part of the bid. But for the most part, these were areas that just needed to.
Because I imagine we probably have tens of hundreds of corners around town that probably should be getting these. I should know if there was a process by which, but I know we tend to want to include them if we're doing sidewalk work anyway, or road work in the area. So you know if there's anything specific about these.
Yeah. No, John would have to speak to that, and John is sick today. So.
This seems like a new name. Have we ever had this company do any work for us before?
I don't know if he's done any work for us. I know he's bid on a few things.
So he's been
Okay.
bidding, but I don't think he's gotten anything yet.
Okay. But references and everything all check out, and we're satisfied, be satisfactory. And I would assume we had some of our locals submit bids too, but they must have been the higher bids.
We do, and John, he didn't include that information, but I know several of the locals bid on it.
Okay.
But honestly, there aren't a whole lot of concrete contractors in
Right.
town either,
Right.
so it's.
No, I just want to make sure that we had the locals included in what we were doing.
I think we got 5. I think we received 5 bids.
Okay.
There's the high one was the 61,000. There's another one I think it was 53. Then the other 3 are closer to the lower end where the bids came in at. So.
Okay.
We have some reason to believe these people are qualified to do this job.
Yeah, if they weren't qualified, we wouldn't have them on here.
They're a group that I've seen before, so they've done a lot of work in the area, maybe not for us, but.
No, that's good.
Further discussion or questions? Is there a motion?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 105-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 106-17, approving 2017 courthouse parking lot retaining wall repair project and authorizing final payment. Discussion.
DeVos Concrete has completed the repairs of the boulder retaining wall next to the courthouse on the Cedar River. Last year's flood and soil around the boulders and retaining wall were washed out that left some voids. The repair work was included as part of the declared disaster work order items that we submitted to FEMA. The high slump concrete was pumped in and filled the voids area that were created during the flood event. The project repair was completed for a total cost of $1,484. Original bid submitted by DeBose was $7,388. Since the voids were irregular and difficult to estimate an accurate volume, we certainly were fortunate to come in at that lower amount of $1,484. So we recommend approval of that Resolution 106-17, accepting the courthouse parking lot retaining wall repair project and authorizing the final payment.
It's nice to see a bid come in about 80% under the estimate.
Yeah, we should hit that with some of the bigger ones. and
Yeah, enjoy it while you
All right.
can.
Further discussion?
So move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 106-17 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 107-17, approving 2017 Bunn Avenue Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project and authorizing final payment. Discussion.
Yeah, so Pop Excavating had this one. They completed the project over there on Bunn Avenue with the sanitary sewer replacement. They're in substantial compliance with all the contract documents. Last fall, it was determined that the line was on the sanitary sewer on Bunn Avenue was in poor condition and was looking to possibly fail. So we put that on our short list of things to get done. The project was completed for a total cost of $25,155.90. Original price submitted by Pop Excavating was $24,322. There's a slight cost overrun of 3%, and that was due to using asphalt millings instead of limestone material to resurface the road. I think what happened was, Pop Excavating had access to these millings rather than using the limestone surface, so we opted to go with the better quality surface for a little bit more, and so that's how we ended up at the $25,156 rather than the $24,322 amount. But the project is completed, and we recommend approval of Resolution 107-17, accepting the work.
Questions or discussion?
Be paid out of the sewer fund?
Yes.
Okay. I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Resolution 107-17 is approved. Miscellaneous correspondence.
We do have some thank yous here from the Floyd County Museum for our donation to them. Also from Big Brothers and Big Sisters for the donation to them as well. And from the Community Foundation. So thank us for our support, our monetary support for their programs.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous correspondence?
That's it.
City Attorney's report.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
City Clerk's report.
Our next planning session will be October 11th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
City Administrator's report.
I'll just let everybody know that Mayor and I will be at the Dubuque Sustainability Conference for the better part of tomorrow and Wednesday. So we'll be in Dubuque learning about different sustainability projects and options and getting some new ideas to bring back for everybody. I also just want to mention and thank those council members that could attend the League of Cities workshops this last weekend at the conference in Davenport. It was a pretty neat thing to hear all the great things said about Mayor Jim Erb and the things he's done. It was nice to surprise him maybe a little bit by sneaking one of his sons and his daughters into the banquet that night, and so it was nice to be able to recognize him then too at the reception. A few of us got up and said a few words, so it's nice to be able to do that. It's been a pleasure working for him as mayor. Looking forward to these last few months as he's here, and just witnessing the impact that he's had not only in our community but in the state. So that was nice to see that happen this last weekend, and so just wanted to share my thoughts on that, because it was nice to be. Charles City in many ways got a lot of nice recognition over those few days there, so it was a proud moment for all of us. So other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Board, commission, or committee reports. We always hope that maybe the solid waste people come up with something.
We'll have a little audit report one of these days.
Okay, hearing nothing, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned.